When you start taking your sales training a little bit more seriously, there is one thing that you're going to learn. And that is going to be one thing that you will hear across different climes, across different industries, and across different times. So it doesn't matter whether you read sales books from the 1930s or some of the gurus that I've mentioned on this podcast, like Cardone and Tracy and Hopkins, people who have been active since the 70s and 80s. And even if you're going to listen to much more modern people or hire sales consultants to come and check you out, there's one advice that you're going to get across board, and that is one way to improve your sales is to do what you say you will do. Because there's this idea in classical sales, in classical sales circle, that the consummate salesman is someone who keeps his promises. Because to be successful in sales, people have to be able to trust you, and you need to have this air of trust about you. It's important, especially when you're looking at making money over the long tail. And by that I mean getting repeat business and getting referrals. So getting people to come back again and getting people to bring their friends, their family, and their associates. Now that is something that is going to be very difficult to do if you haven't cultivated an air of trust about you. And if you're one of those folks who says good morning and people have to check their wristwatch, then it's going to have a negative effect on the level of business that you're going to be able to bring in. So we ought to learn, especially in the wedding and the event industry space. Since ours is a very people-oriented business, we especially have to be able to do whatever it is that we say we are going to do. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this today is because I was at a pre-wedding shoot yesterday, and the wedding planner, while she was looking for other vendors, she hit me up for some recommendations, and so I sent her a number of two of my guys, and she had a chat with them. The couple had a chat with them as well, but she didn't end up selecting either of them, the two people that I sent, because it was beyond their budget. So they went for this other guy instead, who not only reduced the price, but he promised a couple of other things, a few add-ons. And so they found his offering to be a lot more valuable. Now, one of the things that this guy promised was that he was going to show up at the pre-wedding shoot so that he could take a few clips, and so that they could form part of the wedding video at the end of the day. Now, noted, he said he was only going to be there to take a few clips. So I don't think the clients were expecting for him to invest all his time at the evening while I was there. So I don't think that's what they expected. And to be fair to this videographer, to be fair to him, things did run behind schedule really badly. So initially we were scheduled to start the session at 4, and then the bride had some personal family difficulties to deal with, and it was a real accident. I'm not going to go into details, but bottom line is you're getting ready for a pre-wedding shoot, and then if an accident happens, it kind of trumps everything. So the planner did the decent thing, call all of us and say, look, this is what has happened. The shoot is still going to hold today because luckily there was no loss of life involved, but the bride needs to be there to sort out one or two things. And we're like, no wala, that's cool. So that's the first call that we had earlier in the day. And then later on, the wedding planner called back to say that, well, yeah, the issues have been resolved, but then these are the issues that we came up with later on because of the scheduling conflict. We now have an issue with the timing with the makeup artist and with dress alterations and stuff like that. So eventually the time started sliding back and behind, and the shoot started at 8. Yeah, at about 8 p.m. in the evening. Now this was supposed to have started at 4, but we ended up shooting at 8. So to be fair to the videographer, this was a significant change in what he probably budgeted for. he budgeted for 4, and I'm sure he made some other commitments to his time, whether business commitments or personal commitments. And so he probably figured that he'll be there at 4, and then he can cut out by 6, or maybe 7 max. So I, on the other hand, especially since I have kids, I prefer to make much more long-standing plans for these sorts of things. So if I have a shoot, it doesn't matter if the shoot is going to start at 4 or at 8. I've typically made arrangements for childcare to last throughout the whole day, especially at times like this when my wife Patience happens to not be around. So I had made commitments. So I accept that I kind of had more flexibility on my own end, since I had made plans for these sorts of things, for disruptions. So the shoot starts, and at that point, they start asking, where is so and so? And it was then that I figured, I kind of pieced it together, what the guy did to win the deal. That he not only cut down the price, but he promised this add-on. And then all of a sudden, this guy wasn't answering his messages anymore. And we had lots of looks to try out, and so the shooting went all the way up till midnight. But bottom line is, from 8 o'clock up until midnight, this guy was incognito. He didn't answer his phone, and that was it. And of course, I'm sure the couple were pissed, and so was the wedding planner, because she had given them the impression that there was going to be a videographer along, and I'm sure they were looking forward to the fanfare and the paparazzi treatment that we photographers and videographers give our clients, because there's a way and there's a certain atmosphere that we help build, when we show up, and then it kind of livens up the place, lights flashing, you're on video, kind of loosen things up, so it would have been nice. But anyway, like I mentioned, there were lots of extenuating circumstances, so I'm sure that we can't blame this video guy 100% for what it is that happened. But like I mentioned at the recording before, whenever things happen, there's a very professional way to get in touch and to reschedule. In this case, rescheduling, I think, would have been out of the question, because you can't reschedule the shoot per se, because I've showed up, I've done my bit, and I've left. But there's a way that you can communicate with the clients and the planner professionally, so that we can seek redress where things have gone wrong, and we can smoothen up the relationship so there's an opportunity for future business. Because I'm sure that this videographer meant well, but I won't be surprised if either the if either the bride or the groom thinks that this video guy is a fraud. He came, he lowered the price, he promised us the moon, and he didn't even show up. And then on a side note, one of the reasons why our brides and our grooms are really petty about paying us our advances in full is precisely because of this sort of thing. I hear it time and time again. The guy wouldn't have done this rubbish if we hadn't given him his money in full. So, we photographers and videographers in particular, this is something we need to watch out for, and we need to stop these foolish games and be really, really professional about how we handle ourselves. There's no point in promising what it is that we can't deliver, and if we make a genuine promise but then things happen and we can't deliver upon it, we have to reach out in a very frank, open, communicative way, be professional about it, and let's maintain our reputation and security of business for the future and ease of business for the future as well. So this whole thing of blanking out, not answering your phone calls, it's not a good idea. So let's look at this scenario. So let's say I was the videographer in question. I'd have had a frank conversation with the wedding planner. Hey, what's up? I'm sorry, but things have really gone beyond what it is I had budgeted for. I already took another gig. It's on the other end of town, and there's nobody that I can send to come and cover for me. So how about we do it this way? I'm not going to be there for the shoot, but the couple, they're going to be there. They're going to take off for KD at 10 o'clock tomorrow. So how about I show up at the hotel? This is not part of the plan, but let me show up at part of the hotel, and let's have a quick run through interview where we have them talk about their relationship and maybe about the session, the photography session, and then I will get some pictures from the photographer, and then we'll weave that into the video What do you think? How does that sound? No. The average wedding planner might still be annoyed, might still be angry, but I think she will say, let's run with it. It's better than nothing. And then you shift your attention now to finessing the wedding photographer, the wedding planner, and finessing the clients, and also finessing the photographer, so that you're able to get images and you can stitch together that video, some audio, and then some of the photos. So if I was the video guy, that's how I would have done about it. I would have bit the bullet. I would have answered the phone and I would have said, "Hey, look, it's too late. We budgeted for 4, and this is 8. So this is clearly something beyond my control. It wasn't my fault, but this is what I'm going to do to make amends." So that is the much more professional thing to do than to stop answering your phone and to just bone them all together. So, okay, I guess the long and short of what I've been saying for the last 10 minutes is we need to be able to do what we say we will do. Don't be that guy who says good morning and then people are checking. Is this morning? Is this afternoon? Is this evening? Don't be that guy who says, no wahala, I'm going to be there at 2 p.m. But then people don't see you until 4. And so every time they want to work with you, they have to build that in. So that if the program starts at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, they will tell you a fib that it actually starts at 10. Because they know you're going to be an hour late or an hour and a half late just to get you early. So we have to do what it is that we say we're going to do, because if we're not trustworthy, people are not going to use us again. And even if they do, they will be hesitant when it comes to referring us to other people. And that is another example that I've had recently, because there's one of our family members who wants to get involved in the agric space. He wants to do a little bit of exporting himself. And there was there was a resource that we had from home, one of our tribes people, who was handy, but he was one of these people who, he says by the grace of God, Friday at 8 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, he says by the grace of God, Friday 8 a.m., but it's not going to get done until next week Tuesday at 4 p.m., something like that. So he will do it, just not when he says he will. So I figured I'd give this person's number to this my family member who wants to get involved in the trade. And I was even hesitant because of our experiences, and I spoke to my brother, and my brother said, hell no, like, don't do that. If you send this thing across, this guy is going to get terribly burned. Now we're better off looking for someone who has less experience but who lives up to his commitments. So let's look for someone else to hook them up. So these are the sorts of things that happen when you don't honor your commitments and you don't do what it is that you say you will do. And that is one reason why it is a cardinal rule for improving your sales, whether you're consulting with me or whether you are listening to Cardone or Hopkins, or if you're listening to any other guru about there. Eventually, you will get to that point where they will tell you that, hey, please, whatever it is you say you're going to do, do. If you promise ABC, promise ABC. Do ABC. If you can't do it, get on the phone quickly, be upfront, be face to face, be open. Don't let people chase you down and hand you down and to say, I know we agreed for ABC, but due to these circumstances, that is not going to be possible anymore. This is what I want to do to redress, or what would you suggest that we do so that we can redress the situation? So that's a more professional thing to do, especially as a salesperson. And don't forget, we all are salespeople. We all are salesmen and saleswomen, because our job, first and foremost, isn't wedding photography or wedding planning or cake making. It's to find the customer, it's to find market, and it's to get people to buy from us. So we're first and foremost business people and salespeople. So thank you very much for listening to the Sales for the Nigerian Wedding Industry podcast. I'm your host, Abuja-based event and wedding photographer, Tavishima Ayede. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.